Hi, my rays of light, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing the Lizzie Borden psychic reading. This has been a reading that a lot of you have asked for me to do. It is the time of fall, going into October very soon. We're in September right now, going into Halloween. The whole month of October, I'm going to be doing a lot of these kind of spooky cases that are just very intriguing. This case has been something that has been unresolved for so many years. So many conspiracies, movies have been done on it, docuseries, etc., etc. So I'm going to be giving you the tea from Spirit, what I get, my psychic impressions, and see if any, if Lizzie's soul will come through, and she may not, depending on who I'm going to be communicating. Could be my spirit guides with her spirit guides to give these messages. But when I tune into this whole dynamic, here on the very left hand corner we have John Morse, which was the uncle. Then you have Bridget Sullivan, which is the maid, there on the left, the upper left. Bridget, I believe she also went by Maggie Sullivan, I believe that's her name. Then Abby Borden was Emma and Lizzie's stepmother. Lizzie you have in the center as the primary suspect. You have Andrew Borden, which is Lizzie's father. And then you have the very bottom, I'm not going to talk about the house, that's the house in the background, but in the very bottom we have both Emma and Lizzie, and these were the two sisters, okay? I believe there was another sister as well, but she did die. So I'm going to go ahead and get into, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but okay, I'm not going off of the movie. I haven't seen any of these movies or docuseries at all. What I get with John, I'm going to start with John. I get a man that is very manipulative, very jealous, very ambitious, but very dirty in his dealings, okay? He had a lot of secrets. He was very envious of Andrew and what Andrew had, because Andrew Borden was a man that was very rich. Well, kind of wealthy, you would say, and so I feel like John had a lot of anger and rage. He was definitely bipolar or schizo. Just an awful man, and very demented, very cold-blooded, no feeling, like void of emotions. And like I said before, viewer discretion is advised before I get deeper into this reading. If you're a sensitive and empath, you may want to click off. When I get into Bridget Sullivan, which is Maggie Sullivan, the maid that worked for the Borden family, I get that she was very sly. She did not like Abby Borden at all, and I feel like she was scared of Lizzie. She was definitely scared of Lizzie, because I feel like Lizzie and her really did not get along. I do feel like there's a lot of speculation here. I feel like she was scared of Lizzie is what I'm getting, but she was also did not like Lizzie at all. That's what Spirit is saying. And I also feel like there would have been some kind of foul play and cover up in this. Lizzie did not commit the murders, okay? I'm just going to be very clear here. This is a time in 1892 or whenever this took place in the 1800s. Keep in mind that this is the time where women were suppressed. Women did not have the same rights that they do have as of today, This is a time when men were the ones in power, supposedly, they were the ones that called the shots. I felt like all of this story, all of this accusation that Lizzie killed her stepmother and her father was all contrived. It was all false accusations, because they wanted to potentially frame Lizzie for the murders, because it would have been so much easier to, instead of speculating who else could have it been, to take it off, the pressure off of John. Now, I'm not saying that he's the murderer, but I'm going to get further into this as I'm going through. But I do feel like, again, Bridget would make faces and would kind of like talk, like when you're mimicking someone after they tell you something and rolling your eyes. I feel like she had a tendency to do that. She didn't agree with what Abby was making her do. She didn't like to be kind of treated as a slave. Abby was a very foul woman. She was not a nice person. I feel she was horrible to Lizzie, and her and Lizzie would have gotten into physical altercations. I feel like there was either a hair pulling scenario or slapping, and Lizzie calling her all kinds of names. Lizzie is very much coming through as a strong woman, a very strong energy for that time period that she was in. She did not like her father. I'm going to be very clear. She stayed there because of convenience, but she did not like her father, and she hated Abby. She hated Abby, and she did not like John either. I feel like he did not like Lizzie either. He didn't like any of Andrew's family, even though Lizzie, I believe that was his her maternal uncle. He did not like Andrew, Abby, and Emma. He didn't like Emma. The only one out of this whole family that had a lighter energy, I feel like a very good energy, very calm, more relaxing and lighthearted, would have been Emma. Okay? But Lizzie was someone that was abused. I feel like there was a lot of incest things, abuse, sexual abuse at a very young age from her father. Her father was a very sick man, even though he was in a lot of power. Very sick, very cold-blooded. Very much the way that, I feel like there would have been domestic violence. He was, I don't know if he's drank alcohol. I just get that he had vices and obsessions, and just was very a sick man, very disturbed. So I feel like Emma was definitely. Lizzie was like the protector of the family. She was going to protect her sister, but she was not going to protect Abby. And I feel like Abby did not like Lizzie in the house and wanted Lizzie gone. She, in fact, told Andrew many times, this is what Lizzie's spirit is telling me, spirit guides, that she told Andrew many times to get rid of Lizzie, to throw her out of the house. And she was the one that they said that they accused Lizzie of stealing from the family and being a shoplifter and all that, but it had to be Abby. Abby was the one that was implanting those things, or making it staged, looking like Lizzie was the one that was doing all of this, but Abby was behind it. She was a foul woman, very vile, very evil, very manipulative as well. She and John carry the worst, even though Andrew also has his, like those three, John, Abby, and Andrew are the worst of the worst in this whole thing. And I feel like Abby and Andrew tried to make Lizzie's life a living hell. Andrew, from the standpoint of being the father, I feel like he wanted to have control over Lizzie. Lizzie was a very dominant woman, very strong-natured. And I feel mentally she was affected. Psychologically, all of this affected her. People have speculated that she lied about, a note being slipped that she, for the Abby, and that she went to the barn to check on some lead stuff, and, that she went out of the house, and when she came back, she found her father downstairs, on the sofa, hacked, basically, and her stepmother was upstairs, and she got, several, with an axe, several hits as well. The thing is that spirit is being very revealing here, and I have to believe that it is accurate, when what they're giving me. Lizzie, the murders that were carried out were very violent in nature. It takes a lot of strength. Now, I'm not saying that Lizzie was not a strong woman and that she couldn't have done it, but I do not get her soul being a murderer. I don't get that she would have had the violence or the actual energy to carry out this murder. But it was so easy for people to blame her, because I feel like growing up, she kept very apart. She spoke her mind, and for a woman, even in this time frame, to speak up and stand up to men, that made men can be, men accuse women of being gossip queens and being the worst, but in this time period, I feel like men were the worst. They were worse than what they accuse women of being. They were gossip queens in many ways. And so the story that Lizzie is telling me and showing me is that a lot of these men in town and their wives followed suit to however the men were. They did not like Lizzie. The people in that city where she lived in did not like Lizzie, period. They did not like Lizzie. And again, because she was very strong willed. And I also feel like she just was a very unique individual. They've speculated that she was a lesbian. Okay. Maybe she was. I'm going to say there may be some validity there, but I feel more like bisexual in some ways. I just get that from her. I don't know if she was a full lesbian, but if people believe that and they want to believe that, that's fine. However, I do feel like she was very traumatized by the murder. And when people find, when your father and your stepmother are killed and you find them, you have to go into that crime scene and you see it. It's very psychologically, it disturbs people. And so this is something like an image I feel like she could not erase from her mind at all. What I'm seeing here when it comes to the murder is that John did not carry out the murder. However, he did hire 2 males. There was 2 men involved. They would have been hiding in the house. This is a big house. Well, to me, it's big, but compared or considered to the time frame that we're talking about, this is a pretty big house. At least that's how I feel from what I've seen. I am getting 2 males that carried this out. These would have been males in their 20s that would have been paid a lot of money, that would have had carried it out. They would have been hiding. They would have been hiding somewhere in the, I don't know if there was like a basement at all, but what Spirit makes me feel is like they were definitely hiding, and one was hiding upstairs, one was hiding downstairs. It was all very calculated. The distraction for Lizzie to leave, outside, for Bridget to be outside as well. It was very calculated. Those 2 men had to have been, I see one wearing a hat. He's got like sandy brown hair, blue eyes, very thin, dressed kind of like, what should I say? Like, kind of like a farmer slash, I don't know how to describe it, but like a farmer almost. And the other guy was a little bit younger, had very dark black hair, dark brown eyes, and kind of like very scraggly, kind of tall, 6'1", and he would have been downstairs. That's the other guy. And those are the 2 guys that I see involved, and they would have been hired, and it's very possible that John Morse was the one that hired them. And why would he want it, this to happen? Why did he want to take out Abby and Andrew? Because if Andrew would have died, the estate would have gone immediately to, I believe, Abby. If I'm not mistaken, because that would have been his wife, and maybe it would have gone to Lizzie. But I feel like he wanted some chunk of this property. He wanted, if I'm not mistaken, he also did something with Andrew's will. At least that's what because I believe John Morse was someone that was involved with that. But whatever the case is, I definitely get that he is responsible, and I do get that he didn't do it himself. Okay, that was his alibi, that he was out of town, which he was, or whatever, or he was in town visiting. Whatever the story is, he wasn't present at the time of the murders. That is what I'm getting. And so that's very true. Bridget knows something. She knew something, I should say. She knew something. Either she knew the guys that were going to carry this out and they had threatened her, but she kept her mouth shut. And this is the reason that she blamed, I believe Bridget was the one that blamed Lizzie of laughing or hearing her laughing upstairs after the murder, but Lizzie denied it. That is exactly why, because John and Bridget knew. John and Bridget knew that these murders were going to be taken place. And like I said, Bridget had a lot of secrets. She did not like Abby. She did not like Andrew at all. And she hated Emma. So contrary to what has been put out there, what has been put in the movies, etc., I feel like she just hated Lizzie. And I think I said she hated Emma. Sorry, she hated Lizzie with a passion. That's that Maggie Bridget Sullivan, the maid. And so I am getting that, all of this that was carried out during this time frame was all very calculated, and it was done because, again, John was very jealous of Andrew Borden. He was very jealous, and in some ways, I don't know if he blames Andrew for the death of Sarah Borden. I believe Sarah was, or Lizzie's mom, biological mom. I don't know if John blamed Andrew or for her being abused, etc. But he definitely was someone that was very cold-blooded and would not have cared less or even hurt, in the event that he would have hired two hitmen. Because basically this is what it was, two hitmen that carried out this murder. And it was a male energy that carried it out. And this is something that my poor Lizzie, I feel so bad for her, because all these years she has been known, people have made jokes about her. There's a poem, Lizzie, took 40 whacks or 41 whacks, and then, or whatever she, however that poem goes. I don't even want to repeat it. But it's so disgraceful that she has been accused, in a time frame where men were in control and in power and very manipulative and just wanting to exert power over women and oppress women, that he would have done this to his to his own family, because in many ways, Emma and Lizzie were his family. So again, this is what I get through this whole thing. Those two souls, they never were caught. I don't feel like they were ever caught, that carried out this murder. And it was something that I believe that one of them died later on from like an overdose of some sort, and the other one would have died from like heart issues. So those two men lived maybe about 20 to 30 years after. That's what I'm getting. 20 to 30 years after the murders, and then they would have died. And as far as John, I feel like he took this all to his grave, but Lizzie knew the truth, and I feel like that's why a lot of people still shunned her. Like while she, was living there, it was like she lived this life of being judged, like wearing a scarlet letter in many ways of death, that she was the response. People still didn't let it go. I feel like for years and years they kept whispering, and rumors and kind of murmurs about her being the murderer of her own father and stepmother. But the truth of the matter is, and I hope that she finds some peace through this psychic reading, is that she is innocent. She was innocent, and I stand by that. She was not the one that carried out the murders. And again, there are going to be people that listen to this reading and that will not agree, and that's fine. Just keep it civilized when you're expressing your own opinions in the comment section, because if you get very just being a troll, you will be blocked. And so that is the reading on the Lizzie Borden case, and that's what I get. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you did like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Psychic Medium Ray. And don't forget, all of my readings are on sale throughout the entire month of September, and you can book a reading if you want at this time. And my new cards were just released. Check out that video that I did yesterday where I demonstrate them. I really recommend that you get them. They are limited edition. And also be sure to check out the jewelry. I have a lot of people purchasing some of my jewelry and stuff, so check out my shop when you have a chance. So blessings and love and light. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are in the world.